I was watching a video, brief one, on Instagram from Ask Teal, and she seemed slightly frustrated, mainly because of whatever she's going through. And she was talking about self-love and how nobody tells you how to love yourself. And I'm getting really irritated at myself and the world around me because regardless of everything I'm doing to love myself, I still really, really, really can't stand a lot of things. Not just about myself, but the world at large. Really. And the trick to learning to love yourself, as far as at least what I've learned to get as far as I am, don't fucking lie to yourself. At all. If you hate your features, say it. Get it out of you. Put it on a piece of paper and tell yourself everything you don't freaking like about yourself. Because let's really be honest here, okay? Real honest. We live in a really messed up world. We live in a world where people, whether they're real people, organic, non-organic, whatever the hell they want to be called, or even if they're a reflection of you or if they're not, it really is irrelevant at this point. The fact is, you live in a world where people screw you over. They have the ability to alter the way you look, the way your body is, the way you feel, the way people treat you, where you are, what you see, which of reality you're vibrating at. They have this ability. Okay, and they're not just one species, there's multiple species, all of which have different capacities and capabilities. This is a fucking fact. So you sitting there, me sitting here, scripting my freaking hand out of my socket with how much I write, is pretty much constantly battling and counteracting what they're doing. And since you live in a world where there is no privacy, where you're constantly monitored, especially through your computer monitor screen, which is monitoring you, whatever you're doing, they see it and then they counteract it. It's a constant battle of light and dark. The checkerboard, the chessboard. This is why the world pushes you back into yourself. This is why Jesus and all of them said the only way out is in. Know thyself. And I've gotten to know myself real well, and I can't stand this world. And I can't stand that I want to be a part of it, that I would like to fit in any way. I cannot fucking stand that I exist in this world to pay, to eat, and to live, and to clothe myself. I can't stand that my soul and my consciousness has been degraded and degenerated so much to the point where I am obligated through fear and manipulation and bullying to pay to live on a planet, to pay to clothe myself when the clothes were taken originally thousands of years ago. And then some douchebag alien aeon bullshit said, oh, you gotta pay for all the stuff now because we like the money, we like the energy you give off. Oh, but I don't have to eat. I'm a godlike being. I can just survive off the planet, off the food it gives because it's light condensed into matter, and then I eat that matter and it's light. It fuels me. And I wouldn't even have to do that because I normally wouldn't vibrate at such a dense frequency, which means I could just absorb sunlight like a freaking plant does. But since then there's genetic tampering, you now have to eat denser foods to drain the light out of the food so that you can live. Now give them money for it. It's like me coming to your apartment, screwing up your gas stove and your electricity sockets and shit and saying, pay me money and I'll fix them. Or you taking your car to a mechanic and having the mechanic screw one thing over and fix the other, and then you go back next week to fix the other thing. It's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous how sabotaging this world is to you, to every living being. No other living being anywhere in any fucking reality has to pay to have shelter. They don't need shelter. They live with nature. They make shelters because it's nice to have a home. Like the elves in Lord of the Rings, they don't need to live in a freaking castle. They can live in a tree with a bunch of sticks and lamps. But no, we have to have all these ridiculous buildings, cut down the entire trees that could normally support us to sit here and live in a building and say, it's fine, now let me cook something. And then we play house, and then it's glorified to play house through TV and through shows and the programming bullshit. And then we count days and numbers and time and calendars and little boxes with little numbers on them. Most of them mean nothing, especially if they have zeros next to them or how they are added up. And then the calendar itself is complete bullshit because there's months on it made up for governors and people in Rome. And then the numbers and the dates are incorrect because they're using the solar calendar, not the lunar calendar. It's ridiculous. It really, truly is. We're living in a world of lies, and we're paying to live here. You want to love yourself? Realize what the fuck you're living, because there's nothing wrong with you at all. You're living in a world that is designed to make you think there's something wrong with you and that you hate yourself, so that you spend your entire life and energy attempting to improve and love yourself in a world that is designed to make you hate yourself, which then the contrast causes you to perpetually pursue this endless journey, this endless dream of a nightmare, so that you can eventually say, oh, I love myself. But by then you're probably on your deathbed 1,000 years old, and then you realize you didn't have to do any of it. You could have just enjoyed your life, looked at everything around you as a freaking joke, and gone ahead and done whatever you want. Because no one has any power over you other than you and the power you give anyone else. You want to love yourself? Admit what you don't like. Admit how people screwed you over. Admit every facial feature and body feature you don't like. Stop hiding it and then assuming people don't see it about you, and if they don't see it, then they're seeing a fake mask of you. Everyone sees you're ugly. Everybody sees you're ugly. Everybody sees your beauty. Everyone sees that you're beautiful. What do you see? Are you just that vain where you're just concerned about your face, or are you actually concerned about your soul? And by the way, your soul isn't even yours. It's something your consciousness wears to survive in this hellhole. And this hellhole we live in used to be heaven. It used to be a paradise. And some troll somewhere decided that, oh, they're going to lie, they're going to manipulate, they're going to murder and turn the vibration of this beautiful place into the shit sty that it is now. So that we can sit here and spend eons upon eons paying in energy and life force and tears, blood, and sweat to turn this place back into what it was, which actually it is in a different dimension. But the act of keeping us constantly searching and improving keeps us at a state where we constantly have to search and improve. If everyone just gave up and said, we're not doing this anymore, there would be a massive wave of the tower moment where everything would fall apart, and then after that, there you go. You have your heaven on earth. Because you have to take the power back from the thing you gave your power to. And if you want to look at it in just a way where it's you and your own body, then you have to take the power away from the side of you that is so bitter and angry and irritated and frustrated because it never wanted the power in the first place. You sense this frustration I'm channeling through me to you, this utter sense of what's the fucking point? Like, what's the point of sitting there doing all sorts of subliminals or transitions or dating or eating or walking around or saying anything or going to bars and clubs or sex or family, friends? What's the point? Really, what is the point? You're spending your entire life going to attain these things, right? The white picket fence house, the shiny apartment, the nice car, the handsome boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever it is. What's the point? What's the point of it? For you to sit there and say you did it? You did what? Fulfill the dream that was designed for you from birth? No wonder you hate yourself. You're not even living your own dream. You gave up on your dream when you were little, when the people that were designed to take care of you abused you. So you gave up on your dream because your subconscious mind assumed that you weren't loved, that you weren't cared for, and that your dreams are pointless because everyone else is doing just fine, as old and, adult as they are, doing what they're doing, so that you can just live that way too, and it'll be fine. You don't need to be whatever it was you wanted to be, a superhero or a creator of universes or whatever the heck you wanted to be. You can just be a mom and a dad and sit there with grandma and grandpa and have a nice time by the TV. Which means you'll have to get married, you'll have to have a house, you gotta grow up, you gotta grow, different features, you gotta do this and you gotta do that. And what do you have to look like when you're older? Oh, right, a copy of your family tree. And then you sit there with subliminal videos, you sit there with scripting and the law of attraction, each of which is given to you, spoon-fed to you whenever you're ready for it. Just so you can finally go back to who you were and what you really intended to be and what you desire to be. But you're still missing the point that you're in a world designed to constantly take it away from you to keep you chasing after it. And then you guys are like, well, how do we love ourselves? You don't. You already do. The simple fact that you're asking how do you love yourself means you love yourself. The simple fact that you're frustrated and not being able to love yourself means you already love yourself. It's just not to the standard of what everybody else thinks you should love yourself as. When assholes cheat on you and abuse you, take from you, when people look at you weird and laugh at you, when jobs fire you, when your paycheck isn't enough, when the food runs out, you have to go to a food pantry, when the car breaks down, all of these things are designed to make you feel less about yourself, to make you hate yourself. And then all the beautiful Instagram baddie bitches and all the supermodels and, fake statues of goddesses that never looked anything like those goddesses did. And the gods of the abs and the rippling muscles and blah, blah, blah. Like, do you really think gods spend time exercising? Really? It's all designed to make you feel horrible about yourself. Because the more you feel horrible about yourself, the more you don't look around the world you live in to see that you actually live in the underworld. You're in hell. Hell used to be heaven, and not the glorified angels on harps and blah, blah, blah. No. Heaven was just a planet. A beautiful, lush, wild, free planet. So you go through these ridiculous journeys and these ridiculous adventures in life trying to figure out what to do, and by the end of it you're like, oh wow, it was here all along. We were already here. This was the pleroma. This was heaven. This was that place. And we spent our entire life screwing it over. So when you're done, that's why you come back again and again and again and again to do it all over again, and then you call yourself an old soul. You're not an old soul. You're just somebody who keeps getting sucked into the game. You already love yourself. You don't need to chase self-improvement. You don't need to chase self-help. You don't need to chase any of it. You are those things. And everything else outside of you is a complete sabotage. A lot of these kids that are under 20 years old are not human children. They're hybrid children. Just look at their faces. Take the eyelashes and eyebrows out and shave their head. They look like aliens. They're not designed to make you feel better about yourself. They're designed as a different form of being that doesn't need to. You know how the current human is defective? The posture, the teeth, the facial features, it isn't very close to the golden ratio. You've noticed this, right? There's fat people, there's skinny people, there's, hunched over people, there's whatever people, there's organ failure, there's genetic damage, etc., etc. The Anthropos 10. Well, the Anthropos 11, along with the hybrid version of the other species, doesn't have these flaws. They are born with full heads of hair, beautiful, beautiful features, perfect teeth, perfect bones, perfect DNA structure, programmed and reprogrammed accordingly by more than just your scripting. So on and so forth until they're 20 years old and they know more about the universe than the most genius people in existence ever did. Millionaires and billionaires before they're 23, married, children, houses, family, the entire thing. Why? Because they're the new species. The current species, if you haven't noticed, has been genetically, medically, pharmaceutically, TV programmed, and everything else to not be able to reproduce. The genetic strain has been damaged, which is why you feel like you are unworthy and don't love yourself, because you can feel the damage internally within you. And you're attempting to improve yourself, but you don't know what exactly needs improving. You think it's just your features. Your features in your life are a direct representation of the energy and imprint and blueprint in your etheric and catheric bodies, which is what everything that you experience in life damages. You're basically being neutered so that you don't create more genetic flawed beings through reproduction. There's nothing wrong with you. You simply don't know the full truth of this place you live in. You don't know and you don't remember the full history of your body and what you've been through. And every time you attempt to be in the present moment, you think that there's some trick to it. Being in the present moment means knowing how horrible things are and how you want them to be, and that right now you're doing the best that you can. Even when you think you're not, and you're being super lazy and you're procrastinating and you're not doing whatever you could be doing, you're still doing everything you can because that's all you're capable of doing right now. If you're sitting there crying your ass off and you're like, I'm doing the best I can, and then somebody tells you, no, you're not, you're just sitting there crying. Well, you crying is the best you can do right now. Because that's how wounded you feel, that's how hurt you are, or you sitting there drinking at a bar and you're like, this is the best I can do right now. It is. Because that's what you're capable of doing right now. If there was anything else, you'd be doing it. Does it mean that you're an asshole or that you're whiny or that you're pitiful or whatever? Yeah, absolutely. But it's the best you can do right now. So why are you beating yourself up over it? And then those nitwits who sit there complaining about politics and government and everything else, do you realize that your thoughts are what's controlling them? Do you realize this? You think if everybody in one suburb, in one state, in one country, somewhere, decided to constantly only send happy thoughts every time they thought of their politicians, you think that politician wouldn't benefit and create a better world for them? In the current vibration that they're at? But instead, the entire world is talking shit about everybody leading them, and so everybody leading them does exactly what the people are saying they do. Oh, Trump's doing this. Well, of course he is. You just said he is. Oh, they're doing that. Well, of course they are. You just said they are. And look at how you feel. You think you're going to vibrate at a world of freedom and peace and utopia by sitting there complaining about people who are helping you lead your country? How would you like to live without plumbing and electricity and buildings? Can you go start a campfire? Can you pitch a tent other than in your pants? Would you go and hunt a chicken and kill it yourself? No. You need somebody to do it for you because you're a big baby. A big baby that sits there complaining about everybody. And if you're going to sit there complaining about everything, then do as I do and realize the opposite of it and what you can do to solve it. If you have complaints, remember in the beginning of the video, tell yourself what you don't like. If you have these complaints, what's the opposite? If you think you don't love yourself, what the fuck is wrong with you? Is it your face? What features on your face? Write them out and then write out the opposite of what you would actually like. And then use your source given freaking intellect to figure out what caused your droopy eyes or your fat stomach or your, I don't know, whatever the hell's wrong with you. What caused it? What contributed to your, I don't know, your zit, your pimple. What is a pimple? It's fat or pus underneath your skin. Things you don't want inside you being pushed out of you. What is it you don't want inside you? Well, what part of your body is it? On your forehead? Then you're probably getting rid of thoughts you don't want. Is one side, like one boob, bigger than the other? Which side is bigger? The female side or the masculine side? If the one that's smaller is on the masculine side, then maybe you should work on your masculine energy and bring it into peace with your feminine. You're having like diabetes? Okay, well, can you eat? Is it because you enjoy sweetness too much or you don't eat sweetness at all? Because that answers your question right there. Why do you have diabetes? Well, let's see. Do you allow yourself kindness and joy and pleasure in life or not? Or do you overindulge? Is your liver failing you? Or do you have liver problems? Then maybe you should actually live and enjoy life. Or maybe you're living and enjoying life too much. Teeth. I know about this one. Are your teeth messed up? Is it probably because you're grinding your teeth and holding in what you want to say and you don't, so the energy breaks through your teeth? Or are you saying too much and too many dirty words so your teeth are struggling with negative bacteria? Or are you eating too much crap and you're constantly telling yourself, oh, this is so bad for me, oh, this is so bad for me? Are you overweight? What are you doing? Eating everything, including fast food, and then telling yourself, oh, this is going to make me so fat, oh, I shouldn't eat this. Well, of course then, yeah, go ahead. Are you smoking and you're like, oh, I shouldn't smoke, it's so bad for me. Then why are you doing it? You could just be saying, oh, it's smoke time, it's the best time to spend some time with my best friend. The smoke from the cigarette to give me some peace and quiet, by myself. 5 minutes of mini meditation with my little friend, the cigarette. And this smoke is going to clear my lungs and it's going to do this and it's going to do that. Instead of sitting there saying, oh, the Surgeon General says this is going to happen and this is so bad and it's going to cause wrinkles and it's going to do this. Okay, then it is. You're living in a world of duality, polarity, and white versus black. Not just light and dark, but light versus dark, because you are constantly battling the aspect of yourself that doesn't like what you're doing. So all these secret societies, all these douchebags and everything else, the only reason they exist is because you repress the side of you that really doesn't like you. You get it? You are the Illuminati. You are the secret societies. You are the government. You are your devil. You are your God. One side of you hates who you are because you're living in a world where you shouldn't even exist in this hellhole because you're better than this. The other side of you is like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna be so pretty and like Snow White and I'm gonna go and live with the 7 dwarfs and it's gonna be amazing. And then the other side of you is like, here, eat this apple, you dumb bitch. Seriously, you're your own worst enemy. And what are you doing with it? Scripting your life. Because if you script yourself a boyfriend, it'll help you distract yourself from the mess you've made of your life. When you should be listening to that side of you that says what you don't like about yourself, so you can sit there and heal it and figure out what you need to do to bring peace within yourself. You don't like your features? What caused those features to appear? I don't like some features on my face, and I know exactly why they appeared, because I spent 2 fucking years crying over somebody who lied to me. Why don't I like living in this apartment? Because I had a house. I had way more money. I had a better life. Why did I lose it? Because I trusted someone that wasn't trusting me. And I kept lying to myself, saying, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I lied to myself, and I knew I was being hurt. Why do the old people in retirement home have so much grief? Because they knew better than to waste their life waiting for someone to save them. They knew better. Internally, you knew better, just like I knew better. But we don't do better. We keep doing worse and worse and worse and waiting for someone to come and help us and to point the way. And they're all pointing at love yourself. But what you don't get is, to love yourself, you have to really look at why you hate yourself. And no amount of pretty pictures and editing videos and music and weekly this or monthly that or tarot card readings, nothing's going to help you if you're going to be constantly too stubborn to look at why you can't stand being in your own body. And I don't care if you're the happiest person in the world, you fucking hate yourself. Because you're making yourself live a life of complete oblivious joy and glee. Like those nitwits who are constantly on their spiritual retreats and they're constantly going into the woods and they're doing their ayahuasca and they're doing their weed smoking and they're sitting there banging on drums and singing and chanting and just swaying back and forth and the kundalini bullshit. Like, give me a fucking break. They're avoiding a complete aspect of existence. Whereas the one who's working at Walmart packaging, shipping things, and the cashier somewhere is completely avoiding the other side of life. And in between, you have people like me who are just fed up with all of you. Swear to God, if I could get the entire planet in one place, I would just like walk down the line, bopping every single one of you on the head with a piece of paper that says, do you see this? Do you see how much you could be doing better in life if you would just look at yourself in the way that you know you're looking at yourself as? You deserve and are worthy of a beautiful life. But first, you have to admit how much you've screwed yourself over. Otherwise, that aspect of you is going to continuously screw yourself over. And the story is repeated to you everywhere, from the Aeon Sophia to the fall of Jesus to the fall of King Arthur to the fall of whatever. Maleficent and Aurora, the Disney tales, Tom Thumb, whatever. It's everywhere. Star Wars, The Last Unicorn, Cinderella. I mean, God, why can't I remember anything better right now? Alien, Predator, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie. Every single thing you've seen has shown you everything that you could have done better by showing you the reflection of what you're actually experiencing in front of you. Like the Golden Girls. How many of you watched the Golden Girls and sat there thinking, oh, I want to be old and sitting there with 3 other best friends and having an old lady be my super mom and like making these funny jokes? And then you start aging and you're like, oh my god, wrinkles. You're watching Star Wars and X-Men and the Avengers and you're like, oh, this is cool. But then you have an enemy in your real world and you're like, oh man, this world sucks. I thought you liked having an enemy. You know, it gives you the battle of overcoming it. When you could just be looking at your internal world and saying, hey, I don't like this about myself. How do I fix it? Self-love? So I have to love the side of me that hates me? Yeah, you actually kind of do. Because the side of you that really can't stand you is the side of you that wants the best for you. Surprise! Maleficent's actually your best friend. The evil queen in Snow White is actually your best friend. Darth Vader is like your best friend. Surprise! Really? Xavier and Magneto, like humans and mutants living together, and the other one's like, no, they can't. They're both right. One of them's too oblivious, thinking that everything's fine and can be fine with, you know, just love and joy and truth. And the other one's like, no, you have to enforce your boundaries. You need to have respect for yourself. You need to tell people what you want and show them your strength. Which one do you listen to? Both. You don't walk around the world being an asshole, and you don't walk around the world being a ditzy Disney princess. You're never going to get to a state of really loving yourself if you're constantly too afraid to make peace with your enemy. This is another reason why I have been so hurt over what happened in my previous relationship. Because of the lack of closure and the lack of communication, that wound in me has been forced to heal by myself. Which means some karmic bullshit way I carry this wound with me. Because at some point in life, it'll have to be balanced out. And I really don't want it to be that way. I want it to be fixed, healed, and done and over with now. I don't want to carry this shit with me in another life. All because someone's too stubborn to talk? Come on. And then you're reflecting it out and outside of you in your own problems. And then I'm reflecting it out outside of me in all these other issues. And it's the same thing that's being instigated through the outside world internally and from the internal world outside. What's the solution? Communication. If you really want to love yourself, go take a piece of paper out, put a mirror in front of you, look at everything you don't like about yourself physically. Then everything you don't like about your personality, everything you don't like about your world. Allow that negative inner voice inside of you 5 fucking minutes to tell you what it really feels. And then realize that that voice has been your inner child.